My name is Matthew Clifford. I'm a resident of LaSalle County. I have been for the last 19 years. I'm a Cub fan. Any Cub fans?
Yeah.
You got good faith. I began working on Cy Johnson back in 2008 when I found a baseball card of his at a garage sale. I was a police officer at Leland, and when you're sitting in the squad car all day, you hear radio traffic from other police departments. One of the police departments I always heard was Sheridan. Sheridan does most of their traffic stops at the intersection of Cy Johnson and Robinson. So my whole life in the squad car, I always just heard traffic stop Cy Johnson and Robinson. That's Sheridan's action. So when I found this baseball card at the garage sale, I said, I know this name from somewhere. Where do I know this name? And a buddy of mine working in the police department said, that's that guy from Sheridan. They named the road after him. I go, that's the road, it's Cy Johnson and Robinson. So I said, well, I got to find out more about this because this card is signed. My goodness, he signed this card. So I was so excited about it that I just did research, and I dug up as much as I could about Cy. It's an extremely interesting life. I talk about him at home like he's my family. My mother says that all the time, that I talk about him like a cousin, like, Cy did this, and Cy did that. I just get excited whenever I find something about it. I'm part of SABRE, the Society for American Baseball Research. SABRE is a group of baseball fanatics that love the history of the game and then also the science of the game. There's a movie called Moneyball with Brad Pitt. That's a movie that was recent where they did a study of, just because of how a player throws funny or whichever, he could be a great player, but because his numbers say so. That's what SABRE does. They actually call it Sabermatics. That's the science they use. I'm on the dusty history part end of it, though. That's what I like to do. I also write for SABRE's book that comes out once a year called The National Pastime. I wrote an article last year for them, and I'm writing another article this year about a pitcher from Houston named Don Wilson from the 70s. In the winter of 2014, my book called Strikeout, which is about the last moments of Babe Ruth before he ended Major League Baseball for good, which is an extremely interesting, awesome story that I think even could be a movie. It's just a fantastic story on how many lives he touched, including Silas. I did a digital biography of Cy Johnson, which all of you are, you can see it online. Just a detailed, we call it just a digi-bio, because it's only online, it's not a published paper. So I wrote about several different pitchers, Cy's one of them, especially Cy. I did a lot of research on him. I talked to his secretary, Peggy, many a time. She's a sweetheart. She's got great stories. She can go on and on. I always wanted to catch up with Kenny, but I never got a chance to get down with him and talk to him, because usually when the Ottawa Times or one of the papers out here publishes anything about Cy, Kenny's name is usually attached. You are the last one, am I right? The last relative of Cy? I mean, as far as...
Well, Johnson's right here. On the Cy's side.
Great, great.
And my sister.
That's fantastic. I hope that we all learned something. I could have coffee with you guys for days after this. I mean, we can go on and on. In fact, I know that they're going to cut me off here and say, stop, that's enough. But I put together a presentation here about Cy just so you guys can get a little something about this gentleman. I want to give gratitude to the Baseball Hall of Fame. They were extremely helpful throughout all of this. Like I said, I've got Peggy on here. She was a great help. Mary Grace, I'll talk about her. She was a photographer's daughter that Cy was very close to. Michael Hall, a teacher from Newark High School. Dave Johnson from the North Museum. The Ottawa Daily Times was a great help. John Ring, an author from Galesburg, the Sporting News newspapers. As a SABRE member, I can go into all the back history of the actual papers, and even some of the writers that were kind of biased somewhere about a few things. And I even met with the Sheriff Tom Templeton, because At one time, Cy Johnson was LaSalle County Deputy, which a lot of people didn't know that. Cy is a legend in this town. I believe that he'll always be a legend in this town. His name brings the magic of Babe Ruth. It brings back a history to explain to the younger generation of, what's so great about this guy, why do they name a road after him? And then the older generation can explain it again. And it can go on and on and on. He was an interesting individual. I believe he had a great sense of humor. He loved signing autographs for children. That was one of the top priorities. He made it a career, I believe that. A job that he had to do every day was to get more autographs out and keep that history going. I know that he was mad about his wife, Dot, and she was mad about him. I've learned a lot from, especially in that era, the wife of a major league player has an extremely difficult job. She never gets to really settle down in her home because she's constantly traveling with him, or if she stays put, she's missing him. And people like Cy, he would do anything for her. I mean, everybody that I've spoken to about him said that he was just mad about it. So that's a pretty love story too. I'm attached to Cy. I can't deny that. I will be forever. My kids know everything about it. They could rattle off the stats just like that because I constantly talk about it. He's an interesting individual. To go back, this photograph, by the way, is not Dan Wade, Illinois, but I'm going to give you, this is somewhat the environment he was in. It was an old farm in Dan Wade, Illinois. His parents were Nelson Nels Johnson and Tilly Johnson, and he had an older mother named Nelson. Alvin Johnson came first, I came next, and then he would have a brother named Jesse and another brother named Tillman. They lived on a 460-acre farm in Marseilles, Illinois. Johnson family moved from Danway to Marseilles in 1918, and when Cy was 15 years old, his mother, Tilly Johnson, passed away in 1920. Nels Johnson married a widow. I believe her last name pronounced, I heard it, is O'Connor Sampson. Her husband died in the war. And Cy gained 5 stepbrothers and stepsisters in 1922 when his father married Pearl. Cy graduated from Newark High School in 1927. In 1927, he also played for the Marseilles Merchants. It was an in-town team. He had 22 wins and 3 losses. And then he had heard about possibly trying out for the Rock Island Islanders in Rock Island, Illinois. And he did. On March 7, 1928, the paper said that Silas Johnson, a semi-pro player from Marseilles, added to the roster as pitcher number 10, won 20